Today on the Daniel Baldwin Show, Karine Jean-Pierre writing a book, and Joe Biden and the Autopen syndrome. Now. We're going to go right at it with some viewer mail. And let's see, what is his name? Thomas Boss. Thomas Boss from Florida, Jupiter, Florida. Thomas Boss from Jupiter, Florida writes, "Hey, Daniel, what's the story with Karine Pierre, the former White House press secretary? What's the story with her?" Well, Mr. Boss, let me tell you that early intervention, I caught it. I keep forgetting to turn on the magic dust, but not today. Thomas Boss, let me tell you that the word out on the street is that she's written a book. Of course, I would imagine that she would be privy with her position to having like an incredible amount of information, like inside stuff that great books are made of, stuff that would hold us, intrigue us. I'd be anxious to see what she has to say, and if there's going to be some teasers about what she's willing to reveal. She's talked about the demise of the Democratic Party and how she's going to, give information in this book that's going to lead us to understand, what really happened in those, particularly the last 6 to 8 months where they decided to pull the plug, no pun intended, on Joe Biden and back Kamala Harris. I have to tell you that it feels really staged to me, and I'll tell you why. At first, when I heard she was denouncing her membership to the Democratic Party, she had left the Democratic Party, and she now identified as an independent. I thought, wow, maybe she's going to drop a bombshell. Like, what happened? Is there going to be some big sexual indiscretion? Is there going to be some, something that would cause her to denounce the party that she was so loyal to? And then I started thinking more about it, and I started reading a lot more of the interviews of people that work the Hill, that work, the Oval Office, press-wise in the White House. And a lot of people are saying that they smell a stunt to try to sell books, that this move was nothing more than a staged, ad, if you will, a stunt to try to sell books. And I don't know her personally. I don't want to. I hate making judgments on people without having hard evidence, but something doesn't smell right about it. I have to tell you, Mr. Boss, something doesn't feel right about it. So I doubt we're going to get conclusive information from her where she's going to put her reputation on the line and say, I saw X, Y, and Z. I saw, Jill Biden and heard her say, quote, quote, quote. I'd love to know more about what happened. Maybe it doesn't have to always be controversial either. Just what was the inside thinking? Because remember something, if you watch my show over the years, when I was on ESPN, and then I had my own podcast for a while, which has always been called the Daniel Baldwin Show. And there's been different stages of it where I was a little more careful about what I said. I was still kind of in between being a Democrat, which I was a Democrat raised a Democrat, was a Democrat for many, many years. Worked very hard for the Democratic Party in some ways. Anyway, and now I am definitely a Trump supporting Republican because I feel the Democratic Party has really lost its way. And it's funny, there's an emerging larger group of people that I think feel the same way I do, which is like, well, what does the Democratic Party stand for anymore? Like I hear the complaining about everything that Trump does, but you don't back it with any ideas about how to make it better or what to do. It just seems to be a giveaway line. We're just going to keep supporting things that have no fruit. And again, I want to help people that are in need. Don't get me wrong. I want to be a society that has a giving hand and arm, but not to the point where we're getting ripped off and we're getting smeared by it. Like we're going to lose Social Security, or we're going to lose our ability to keep the nation running because we're just giving away so much money to people that are super, super rich, that are friends with the Democratic Party. And I think you're going to find, Doge and so on and so forth has cultivated and unearthed a lot of that type of stuff. We'll see more names and more people will probably be prosecuted, even government officials, in the years to come. But To answer your question, I don't want to set myself up to be really excited about this book because I smell a rat. I do. I don't think she's going to say anything that's, that's subversive. I don't think we're going to get to the bottom of anything. It's going to be kind of like she was, I can't really talk about it. I don't think she's going to put her thumb on anything or crush it. So the moving to the independent party, I think, was probably more of a stunt to try to sell books. But we'll see. I hope I'm surprised. Thanks for the question. Today's show, there's been a lot of attention being given to Joe Biden and the Autopen scandal. So let's go over exactly what that is. When the president signs things into law or different rulings, wish lists, whatever he has to sign, whatever requires his signature. Pardons, for one, is a big controversial one right now going on because the question is, why would they be auto-penned? One, not that that's not done, it's done, but should a presidential pardon be auto-penned? And in this case, because we're talking about his ability to perform, and we can go all the way back. So let's let's walk away from the first administration of Trump, okay? Now we're just entering Biden. Should Biden have run? Did they know that Joe Biden was fiscally unsound, that he was physically and mentally incapable? Let's just say, even though there is some evidence that he was struggling even as early as then, let's say when he entered office, he could, 65, he could pass the test. He was going to get a D or a C, in mental ability. Certainly after 2 years of his administration, there was a noticeable whisperings, people talking about his memory, his ability, his cognitive ability to stay focused. So certainly after 2 years, he was not okay. Now, let's jump to his last 6 months in office. By that time, there's more than murmurings. Let's take a look at a couple of pictures, Bunny, that I sent you. Take a look at these pictures, these images. Now you can see he seems confused. He seems a little lost sometimes. He walks in the wrong direction, after speeches are given. He's unable to recall people's names. He has to be physically directed to turn around and, with somebody who is battling with some type of dementia or mental challenges. Let's just be polite and say that. Was there any way that this man should have been put in the arena to run for president again in 2024? And the absolute, fully agreed upon on both sides now are no. After the debate, it was clear that both candidates were older, were beyond a little past their prime, but certainly Trump was able to stay on subject, whether you like him or not, and it was more than evident. And an outcry came from people in the Democratic Party. I remember reading Rosie O'Donnell. She and Trump have had some battles, but I remember her going, "Get out, get down, step down." Like she was adamant because she was so fearful after that debate of what Trump was going to do in an election head-to-head. So they didn't get Michelle Obama. They didn't get somebody who really had a better chance at beating Trump. They went with Kamala because of financial reasons. They wanted to keep that money that had been pledged already to Biden, and it was hundreds of millions of dollars. And they would have had to give that back if it wasn't somebody from that ticket. So that was the reason why, if you were wondering why they decided to take Harris, don't listen to any of the other BS that they try to feed you. The reason why is because that money, if not for Harris, who was on the ticket with Biden, would have had to have been given back, and they would have had to have raised the money again. And they thought they could pull it off, and they couldn't. She wasn't strong enough to do that. So Trump's our president, and I'm looking down now, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, when he was on the decline, and given what I said, let's not even argue anymore about what happened in the first 2 years. But in the next 2 years, and certainly that last 6 months, you're putting documents in front of him and you're having him sign. And they knew, by the way, they knew they weren't going to beat, Kamala Harris wasn't going to beat Trump. So there's a lot of stuff in that last, I mean, there was one thing that said that he signed, I think in the last week, $93 billion worth of money and grants and different things that he signed. Did he have any idea he was signing those? Honestly, what if he had no idea? What if the powers that be were just printing money for themselves through USAID and different government programs that they were going to get okayed, that he had no idea? Now, of course, he's made a statement. He made this statement yesterday, and he said, or last week rather, he made some statement about, of course I knew, and this is just a Trump. You want us to believe that they didn't wind you up, give you a shot of B12 and tell you to read off a teleprompter this new statement? I mean, he was incapable. He should not have been allowed to have been signing for anything. He was not well. His wife knew he wasn't well. I just had a talk with my wife today, and I said to her, she said, "What are you going to do the show on?" I said, "I'm going to do it on the whole Autopen thing. It's really come to head." And she said, "Yeah, I don't know. Do you think that it's very common?" And I said, "It's not unheard of that things are usually not big things. You're not going to sign the Declaration of Independence with an Autopen. You're not going to sign a declaration of war with an Autopen. You're not going to sign a peace treaty. You're not going to sign, like big ones, usually you want the president's signature on it. Now, are there other little pesky things that have to do with, some small, not as important tax law or some sort? I guess I personally would rather be the one that looks through and makes sure I'm signing, because the Autopen thing, does the president have to be there for the Autopen? Does someone have to explain to him? Is he actually reading the Autopen? What I found very compelling is that they said, I asked the question of AI, I asked the question of Google, I asked Safari, several surf engines. Can you tell me how many Autopenned documents were signed by President Biden? We don't have access to that information. So you can tell just plain by sight, by how smooth an Autopen is done, whether it's Autopenned or not. This happens in the autograph world all the time. Go watch Pawn Stars out of Las Vegas, and those guys, they can look right down, and the signature guy comes in and goes, "That's not his signature." So that one professional signature guy, an FBI guy, could go through hundreds of those a day and tell us how many are real and how many aren't. They're not doing that right now. They're not doing that right now. So I think what you're going to find, not that they're going to do anything about it, but I think you're going to find that most of them were Autopenned. Most of them were Autopenned. He didn't really have a lot to do with what got approved, what got signed. I think you're going to find now, of course, he's going to back his boys, and he's going to say he knew. And you're never going to get to a point where you say, "Okay, Mr. President, well, what exactly, do you remember this one? What was this? This was a big one. This was the California blah, 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 blah. And what was in it that you signed? Do you remember?" I mean, I feel bad for Joe Biden. He's very sick now, supposedly stage 4 cancer. Awful thing for him and his family. Stage 4, when it's metastasized in other organs or other parts of your body, is usually a death sentence. Actually, I don't want to lie about it. And it's funny, I didn't know he had cancer, but I said last year he won't live 2 years. He won't live 2 years into Trump, and probably not even one. I knew he was going to die. I knew this was going to happen. I knew something was wrong, and I was right again. So you won't see Joe Biden 15, 16 months from now if he has what I think he has, and he has the best medical attention. And you have to wonder, if you're the president and you have access to the best doctors, surgeons, everyone in Bethesda and the naval, the Navy and the different places that they monitor someone that powerful, and you don't know that he's sick. He goes for years, because in order for it to get to stage 4, it had to be in him for a while. So no tests on his prostate while he's president, not once a year, just to make sure. He's 80 years old, and that all sounds really, really fishy to me. Really fishy to me. I'm not sure. I mean, I hope they're testing Trump. I hope he, has learned his lesson. For the 15 minutes that you're unconscious and they go up there with that probe and they make sure everything's okay. Because if you don't, and I had one, they found 11 polyps and they removed all of them. My doctor did. So, and the following year they found 3 more. So every December now I'll go in, I'll have that test done to make sure. But President of the United States gets to stage 4 while he's an active president, and no one knows. No one screens him, follows through on that. In other organs now, man, I'd fire those doctors. I would. I'd fire those doctors if I was that family. As of June 5th, 2025, it's not possible to definitely state the exact number of documents autopenned by the Biden administration. However, the question of autopen use has become a subject of scrutiny and debate surrounding the Biden administration. Allegations of widespread use. Some sources, like the Conservative Heritage Foundation's Oversight Project, have claimed that Biden used an autopen on numerous documents, orders, and other documents. These groups have raised concerns about whether Biden was fully aware of the actions being taken in his name. So he's not well. They remember, too, those people in the press who swore the White House. This woman, Karine Jean-Pierre, swore when the rumors were coming out. He's fine. He's kind of, they had senators come out. I see Joe Biden every Tuesday. He's doing just great. Hillary, this one, that one. President Clinton, I sit with Joe, we talk. He's sharp as a tack. He's that. All bullshit. All of it not true. He was not sharp. He was struggling. And I want to go back to my wife. I said, babe, if I was losing a step, I'm 64. I don't think I demonstrate. I think I have convenient memory loss, where my kids are telling me they're going, to spring break in Florida with 3 boys and 6 girls, and they're all getting in a truck. And I forget that I said that might be okay. And then when it comes to the date, I go, yeah, you're not going to that. You said I could go. No, I didn't. You can't remember anything. Yeah. All I can remember was 3 boys in the truck. Yeah, no, you're not going to that. But why take the heat for months and months and months? Why not just pretend I don't remember? And the answer is no. So that's what happens when you run the team, when you're the captain of the team, or you're the owner of the team, or whatever. So yeah, I hide behind that a little bit, but no, I'm not losing my memory. I'm pretty sharp. Isn't it really sad? Think about this for a minute. How sad it is that I know he doesn't know. I know, looking at the photographs, watching the videos, the murmurings and the whispers of people in the military and people in politics that I know that have said, yeah, he's not okay. And that for a person that spent 47 years of his life dedicating himself, I think that's really, really sad. But there's one person that I'm really upset with, and that's his wife. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to go circle to it for the 3rd time. I said to my wife, wouldn't you be the first one? Wouldn't you be the first one that would notice? And she went, well, yeah, of course. When you just start forgetting where you put things, then you start forgetting people's names, and then you start forgetting, plans that you had and places that you've already been. And, it was obvious that he couldn't remember names of people when he was live and certain things. He couldn't remember a few people that had died. He couldn't remember, but she had to have seen all of that behind closed doors, the interaction between those two. She would have known before anybody. And she pushed. There's just no way. The one thing that I find tough for me to swallow and forgive is that so many people pushed him into running a second time when it was more than apparent that he wasn't prepared and he wasn't okay. And they just didn't care. They didn't care. They knew their best chance of beating Trump was all about winning. And their best chance of beating Trump was to throw this guy, right in front of the number 4 bus, and he was just going to take the hit. Imagine how history would have been possibly different had they given him something to make him a little more coherent at that debate. And he just said, I'm not debating anymore. And he faced him one time, and it was a draw, or it was close. Trump won the debate, obviously because of thank God, what we learned, because the press lied about it. So many people in the press that called for his head, that said he can't win, that said Trump's going to, and they jumped on the Kamala bandwagon. Now, take a look at Kamala, who had the lowest approval rating of any vice president, I believe, ever. Like she'd have been better off if she just never opened her mouth. The borders are stuff, the hyena laugh, and the heavy woke stance that she had, which was great in California, that worked out there. But when you start pumping that stuff through the South and the Midwest, nobody wants to hear that. And she just didn't know when to shut up. So it would have been better for her just to be a little quieter, and things might have been different. But I said, he's not going to run. It's going to be something they're going to pull him for. They say he's sick or something's wrong with him. And then they're going to take an African-American woman. And I thought if they wanted a chance to win, it would be Michelle Obama. Obviously, they didn't want to pass up on the money they're doing or whatever's going on over there. But she didn't want that job because that would have put Barack Obama back in the White House. So then they weren't going to have that. They weren't going to have it. So I was right about all of it. Well, I got blacklisted by the FBI, why Joe Rogan had guests on talking about how Daniel Baldwin's in trouble now because he said blah, blah. I told the truth. I told what I saw. I told what I heard. I told what I was able to put together in my opinion. And every single thing happened that I said was going to happen. He's not going to win a few of these 7 swing states. He's going to win them all. He's going to win every one of them. He's going to crush her. Now, remember, if he won by 10, 20, electoral college votes, 2, 3 of those states, that would have been a lot closer, and that was what they were projecting. She would hold on to Wisconsin. She would get Michigan. She got shit. She didn't get any of them. No one bought it. Then they let all the aliens come in. All the aliens are going to occupy those states, so they'll forever change the electoral college once they get citizenship, which is another reason why Trump's trying to get them out. This is a chess game of votes and electoral college votes for elections to come. You don't think they're gearing up for J.D. Vance? They may gear up for J.D. Vance with Trump as vice president to put him back in the White House. That would be perfectly legal if they did that. But the Democratic Party is falling apart. I mean, I've never seen it as low. I don't see anyone there. AOC, that's the leader. That's going to be the person you're going to run for president. Okay, and God bless them. I hope they do that. I really do. I hope that's what they do. God, please let that be true. So I don't know what's going to go on when it comes to Biden's legacy. I'm not sure, but I don't think it's going to be good. I really don't think it's going to be very good. I think what's going to happen is you're going to see more and more people are going to come out. There's Secret Service people that have come out with books. There's other people that are going to come out. Jill Biden is certainly not going to look good at all, I don't think. And I have a problem with her. As I go back again to my wife, I went, baby, you would never let that happen to me, would you? You would never. She said, no, sweetie, I would make sure that you understood. I would tell you. And, we would bow out gracefully and we'd do what we had to do as a couple, but I would protect you at all costs. She didn't protect him. Now, I don't know if she was afraid. I don't know if she thought big bad wolves like the Clintons and other people were going to swallow her up, the Soroses of the world were going to hurt her or do, I don't know. But man, she fed him to the wolves. I mean, here's a guy that, was okay. He was okay. I never really saw him as a great politician, but he did serve. He put in his time. He was a worker's guy, kind of regular guy. I kind of liked that about him. I thought Obama was the jewel in that ticket. I never thought. And then as Biden was getting older, I thought, he's not going to really run for president, is he? Because normally, you go 2 terms of vice president. Your bone that you get for sitting there for like a boob for eight years is you get to run for president, and they back you. You have the former 2-term president backing you. And I think that there's evidence out there about how Obama didn't want Kamala, and I'm not sure how much he wanted Biden. But taking a drink, my throat's getting sore. I'm sad. I really am. I'm sad right now. So many people are angry. I'm not angry. I know they auto-penned. I personally know, deep in my heart, that they auto-penned a whole bunch of stuff and Joe Biden had no idea what it was. And now they're cranking him up, sitting him up in a seat. they probably got things holding him up, for God's sake. I mean, he's a wreck. The guy's got stage 4 cancer. He's 80-something years old. They just took away his golden goose. And, you think Joe Biden didn't want to run? Do you think Jill Biden didn't want her husband to be president in his second term? They took that from them. They forced them out. They told them, you're not running. And we need you to support this woman. He was like, you want me to support her to take my place? I mean, can you imagine after all those years, after 8 years under Obama, and this guy gets 4 years and he doesn't get his second 4? Doesn't get a chance to fight Trump off, who he already beat? No, they screwed this guy. They screwed him. And they signed a bunch of stuff. He has no idea what was signed. You're going to find that the Autopen, and I have to say, if they can prove, even close to prove, that they Autopen those pardons, there's some people that got pardoned on that Autopen that have no right to have been pardoned. If the evidence continues to come in about guys like Fauci and COVID and who made billions and billions of dollars, some people who got super rich, I think there was some ridiculous number, 100 billionaires came out of COVID or something, or maybe more, I don't know, but it was a lot. I think that if those things are true and you can prove that people had knowledge of it ahead of time and that it was a forget rich scam, I don't care who he Autopenned. Reverse it. No, the Autopens don't stand. And they never should have been Autopen. And this is can you imagine, I said this to my wife in the bathroom coming down before the show. It's kind of like in the Godfather movies. If you owned a judge, imagine being able to tell someone, imagine even Trump. Imagine Trump. I don't know that he does this. I don't think he does this. But imagine, and so we're not constantly picking on the Democrats or the Republicans or Biden or whoever it is or Obama. Just imagine any president. And you have guys, your henchmen, your bad guys that do the bad stuff for you, that take the meetings that you can't have on record, and that happens. There's friends of the Republicans and friends of the Democrats, friends of the party, if you will, that fly to Israel, that fly to, Venezuela and fly to, these different Iraq or contact guys, and meet them somewhere in a neutral place in Switzerland and go, hey man, what are you guys freaking doing? Like, he's pissed. Trump is going to blah, 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 blah. Well before you see the stuff on the press, well before you see anything like that, there's business guys that sell steel, that sell uranium, that sell arms, that sell helicopters, that sell, oil, that sell natural gas, that sell wheat, and hundreds and hundreds of millions or billions of dollars worth of these products. And they project out years and years, ahead with contracts that they have. Those guys have business people that meet way before anything is written with an Autopen or signed by a president or okayed by anybody. Those guys are meeting today, right now, while I'm doing this podcast going, hey man, you can't do that. If you do that, we're going to limit the number of cars that go to this country, which will affect the parts that you make in this country, which will affect the shipping that you ship those parts. And next thing you know, 4 deals down the road, it affects the country that you're talking to the guy at the table with. Do you want that? Because that's what we'll do. I remember I was interviewed online at like some celebrity event in LA years ago. It was in the 90s. And, Tom Hanks and this one and now whoever was there. And I'm online for it, and they come up to me and they go, well, Mr. Baldwin, tell us, what do you feel about this whole Japanese bank situation here in Los Angeles? I thought they were going to ask me about my mom's foundation, something about Billy dating Madonna, like whatever the hell was going on at the time. And I got caught off guard. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with what you're talking about. He said, oh, you didn't see? The Japanese now bought such and such bank. And it makes them the owners of the 7 of the 10 largest banks in California. Do you not feel that? A lot of people are talking about how threatening that is, that Japan owns that much of our wealth and they control the flow of that kind of money and blah, blah. And I went, why would we be worried about whether Japan owns 7 or 10 or 9, however many banks in California? Could you imagine if tomorrow we decided to roll back 20% of the foreign cars that come in from Japan into the United States because Japan was messing with our banking. So if Japan does anything, who's more dependent on our dollars, or are we more dependent on their yen? So do you really think I care if they own 7 or 8 or 9 of the largest banks? In the stroke of a pen, we could crumble the yen in less than a week. Why would I care? They're not going to do anything owning the bank. Oh my God, the next day, the Japanese American something society denounced my comments, and this person, my agents called me up, my publicists called me up. Did you say something about crushing the domino effect of the yen? I said, I'm just not worried about them owning 7 banks. I don't care. Listen, we don't line up and work for Japan. We don't line up and work for Canada. We don't line up and work for Mexico. These people line up and work and send their products here. We buy them. We're the buyer. So if we're unhappy as the buyer and your economy is that wrapped around, I keep hearing all this. So I love Canada. I lived in Canada. I have so many Canadian friends. I love Canada. I'm one of the few Americans that really knows a lot about Canada, knows the provinces and territories' names, has traveled to be in every one of them in my life. I lived in Westmount, I lived in BC, Toronto, and they were dying to incorporate Mississauga into their city, and they did. Now the thing's a giant metropolitan city. I think it's Mexico City, New York, and then Toronto, number 3 largest city in all of North America. I mean, I love Canada, but make no mistake about it. We are not that dependent on what comes across the border in the United States from Canada comparatively to what Canada needs our money and needs the products that we send them. And the fact that this is being done in an aggressive or nasty way with our dear friends in Canada is terrible. But I mean, the president looks at what's going on up there right now and he says, this isn't fair. You're charging us for a stick of butter, 300% tariff on it, and we're bringing things over here and we're not charging you anything. So either you're going to make this a fair playing ground, or you're going to get bumped on the tariffs and it's going to hurt you really badly at the pocket. I guess Canada thinks the new premier is going to swing it out with Trump. I don't think that's going to do well for him in the long run. I don't. I think it would be better to sit at the table and try to, as men, come up with a fair system that works for everybody and keeps everyone's economy strong. I think that would be what I would do. And that's what I would ask for. But see, that statement right there, I think that's what I would do. There are guys like me that have relationships with people in Canada that the president or other presidents send over way before we start going to a table with officials and hey, here's what he's thinking. Here's what's going on. That goes on every day. That stuff goes on. Wheeling and dealing and stuff like that goes on in the business world and between nations every single day to try to smooth it out and make it better. There's always some little thing they're trying to change. Don't be naive and not know that. Don't be naive and not know that. These groups have raised concerns about whether Biden was fully aware of the actions being taken in his name. Trump investigation. President Trump has ordered an investigation into Biden's alleged use of the Autopen, particularly concerning the signing of pardons. He has suggested that the use of the Autopen might invalidate these actions and raise questions about who was wielding presidential authority. That's my concern. That's my concern. I know that former President Biden has stepped up now and said, yes, of course I knew, and this is just Donald Trump trying to dissuade people from looking at his big, beautiful bill and blah, 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 blah. No, it's not. It's not. It's the amount of information now that the dust has settled, the election was lost by the Democrats, that's coming out about what was going on in that White House. And it's not good. It does not look good for Biden. I have said for a long time, I think that not just Biden, but I think you're going to see Biden and Obama both are going to get scuffed up a little bit in the next 18 months. There's going to be stuff that comes out now about protecting Clintons and doing other things in Wuhan, and I could go on and on and on and on about what appears. I don't know, but again, I have my sources, and I'm paying pretty careful attention to what's going on right now. And I think you're going to see that people's reputations are going to get tarnished now. I don't know what's going to happen legal-wise, if anyone's going to be charged or anything, but subsidiary people that, down the hill, what do they say? There's a saying, shit rolls downhill. Someone's going to get caught up in it. So they'll probably pass the blame on to somebody else, which is what they do in Washington. So, but yeah, the Autopen situation, in my opinion, it's pretty bad. So I wanted to cover it. I wanted to talk about it. I think that you're going to find that he had no idea a lot of stuff, particularly the pardons. He has no idea what's going on. And he's going to stick to his story now that, of course, he knew everything. He didn't. I don't believe he did. And I think that, I don't know they're going to get away. It might go to the Supreme Court. Whether or not you can invalidate, you'd have to prove probably that Joe Biden didn't know. And I don't believe he's cognitive enough to testify or anything now. So I'm not sure how that goes. I'm not sure, but boy, evidence is coming out right now. The stuff I'm hearing is really bad stuff, particularly about COVID. And don't think for a minute we're not going to get something thrown at us, some other bug, because I think before Trump comes out, he's only 6 months in. There's 3.5 more years of this whining and crying and accusing and all of it that comes from the left. So, wow, it's going to be amazing to watch this show. So I'm going to go into prayer right now because I feel like for our nation, I feel like for everyone, we're so divided right now. It makes me so sad. It does. It makes me want to get a place, out in the country again or on the water somewhere where I can have my boat and just be away from all this, because doing this show forces me to have to get into the condition that is politics. And I'm starting to get very, I might just start doing more life pieces, and break this up and not do so much about politics, because I don't know that anyone on the left is going to lighten up and is going to try to work with the right. So I think everything is going to be pulling teeth and forcing to try to get it done. And this, as I said earlier on, I thought, and what I saw in my vision was that there was going to be rioting, that it would get ugly. I still see that. I don't know at what level. I don't know if this is going to be, Rodney King, O.J. Simpson, or is this going to be Watts in the 60s, where places are going to burn down and it's going to be widespread in different cities. I don't know. But as we start to send people out of the country, immigration-wise, and more people on the left call for death. I mean, think about it. It used to be a crime if you said that you were going to kill the president, or you think the president, or you mention anything to do with the death of a president. We have politicians that say it now. We have politicians that talk about bullets hitting presidents, and that's, wow. We've come a long way, and not in a good way, I think. So, but I'm going to pray. Lord God, thank you, Lord. We praise you. We love you. Your hand over our lives, Lord, is the most important relationship that any one of us can have, is our personal relationship with Jesus Christ. So we thank you, God, for having our nation hold it together for now. And we ask for protection over all of us, God, and a way for us to find a common goal. And the common goal and the common thing that we really should focus on is our personal relationship with Jesus Christ, and all of us who believe in you, Lord. So I ask, God, to have people step aside from the issues. Step aside and step forward for Jesus. And step forward for what we believe and that we love you, Lord. And find the commonality in that, and serving God as the goal that we have. And in that, we will find peace. Amen. So that's my prayer. Friday the 13th, look out for the boogeyman. Jesus has you. Don't worry about it. You're safe. And have a great weekend. God bless you.